Guys, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about engine maintenance. And I'm here with Jerry from Paradise Point Engine and Boat Repair. Jerry is been a mechanic for 30 years. You've seen a few situations,
Yes, I have.
I want to talk about these three additives. And I'm from the old school, and I don't like spending money. And I use additives, but I don't know a whole lot about them. I've learned a ton in the last few conversations I had with you. But I want to just ask you some questions about three of the additives here. One of them is a fuel stabilizer. Oh, and by the way, here's another thing that I learned. I have a Mercury motor, but I've had Evinrude, Yamaha, so on and so forth. They all make stabilizers and cleaners, but you're the second guy that I've heard that you really like the Mercury products when it comes to the engine cleaners, the fuel cleaners, the stabilizers. Let these guys know why you like them.
One of the reasons why I like it, it's diverse. So you can use, this is a three-step process. You can use all three of these together. Each one of them has kind of a more of a specific use. Mm-hmm. Your quick store is for basically the end of the season. You're going to add the quick store to your fuel tank. It's going to be typically 1 ounce per every 5 gallons of fuel.
And this is to stabilize the gas. And let's just back up for a minute. Mm-hmm. You all are, from our prior conversation, one of the most important things is to have, I won't say fresh gas, but stable fuel.
Right.
To just so that it's not causing you problems. So, and the other thing you said, when you're using this stabilizer, you want to put it in, let's just say you're going on vacation or you're putting the boat up for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
You don't want to fill the tank up and then use your stabilizer. You want to fill the tank up, put the stabilizer in, and run it.
Run the engine.
Then when you come back and leave it.
And
so
when I say run the engine, you could either start putting this in. So if you know you're not for sure if this is going to be your last trip or not, mm-hmm. Go ahead and put it in. What you could do is that would be your last trip. Mm-hmm. It would be in there. You already run it. But if you put this in, you need to let the engine run for about at least 10 minutes. You need to let the engine come up to operating temperature and go from there.
And the other thing that you said for this fuel stabilizer, it takes, number one, the octane that you're running, you should check your manual. They're all made to run on 87.
Well, today, most engines are made to run on 87. Mm-hmm. But you should check your owner's manual to make sure that octane is the minimum that it needs.
And one of the things I remember you saying was that after about 15 days, the octane can start decreasing. Mm-hmm. So what this will help with is if you have this in and run it through there, maybe it's a couple weeks, maybe it's 3 or 4 weeks, you can rely on having a stable octane of gas high enough so that it's going to operate the motor the way it's supposed to be operated.
Yeah, this isn't an octane booster, this is just a stabilizer. It keeps the octane at that level that when you put it in.
And what I was also going to talk about is we're not selling Mercury products. You've got, I see, we're in the shop.
We have a few other products, but me personally, I like this line of products. I can run all three of these together.
That's the other thing.
It doesn't have any ill effect on anything. Me personally, I like the quick clean. Mm-hmm. When I run my own personal engines, I typically run more quick clean mm-hmm. than I do the fuel treatment. Okay, that's kind of my preference.
And this is important too, because I'll butt in and say usually what I have been doing, I run my boat a lot. I'll run this every couple of times that I go out. I'll put a few ounces in here. And by the way, the Mercury stuff, from what I understand, you cannot over put too much in and hurt it. Some of the other things you have to kind of watch out. You over, what do I want to call it, over medicate your engine. Yeah. It can actually cause problems.
I wouldn't go to an excession of it. Exceed. A couple ounces one way or the other. You really don't have to worry about it. But I would stick to what they're calling for.
So I do use this occasionally. I have been in the past using the fuel treatment every couple of fill-ups. And then, like once a year, I'll use the fuel system cleaner. And I want to know, am I not wasting my money, but you're saying maybe this if you're storing and forget about the fuel treatment and then run the engine and fuel system cleaner. Is this once, twice a year? Let me know what you're doing on your boat as a mechanic.
So typically, I'm not using any of the quick store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running my boat enough that I don't have to use this.
Mm-hmm. And let these guys know about running your boat.
I'm typically running my boat on the average, at least 30 to 50 hours a year. So, through that course of time, my boat's not sitting long enough typically to have to worry about stabilizing the fuel.
So if you're continually running your boat year round, you don't even need this.
Right.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to say is you mentioned those motors need to be run. If you're going to store it for more than how long before you should turn it on and run it a little bit?
That's one of the misconceptions that people. So when you add this quick store, it's only good for about 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
So it's not good forever.
Mm-hmm.
So when after that 6 or 8 month period, you need to typically either get rid of the fuel, burn the fuel off. I don't recommend keep adding more of the stabilizer to it. Me personally, I don't recommend. I would recommend at that point, go ahead and drain the fuel and run it or dispose of it in a proper manner.
Man, these questions keep coming up for me. When we talk about storing our boat, let's say here in California, we're not back east where they may put it up and store it for 6 months. If you're going to store your boat for say over a month, is it better to have the tank filled or does it matter? Can you store it half full? I mean, does it matter?
There's thoughts on kind of either way.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, because of the ethanol and stuff that we get in our fuel, most of the time you want to keep the tank full so that we don't have any gap that can suck moisture, condensate.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, a lot of the boat manufacturers out there, basically it's a closed system. It's they're, I believe since like 2010 or something, that they make, there's a charcoal canister, it's a closed, we're not supposed to be venting any of the vapors to the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So typically it's a closed system.
Okay. So we're talking about using this only when it's necessary if you're storing your boat for more than a couple of 3 weeks, 4 weeks without running
Right.
it. If you are using this and you're storing it for more than say 2 or 3 weeks, you want to turn the engine on, run it through your pump, you
want to make sure you run water and cool the engine down, but you want it to come up to operating temperature.
And the fuel treatment, you're saying, you might be able to put this on the back shelf.
Well, not necessarily. So for the average guy, this is what you're probably going to use or want to use more so than that's the fuel treatment.
And I just want to show these guys the difference because they kind of look alike. This is the fuel treatment that we're talking about. This is the engine and fuel system cleaner. So you're saying,
that's what this is what people are going to want to use. Mm-hmm. This for most part is, like I said, it's a combustion chamber cleaner. This is a little bit more for the actual cleaning part. This is more so to like maintain.
Okay.
So over a long period of time, maintain. This is to clean.
How often do you use?
Me personally, I try to use the cleaner part probably about every 3 or 4 tankfuls.
3 or 4 tankfuls. So in wrapping up here, these are not cheap. I think these are $18, $19.
Yeah.
But it's 1 ounce to 5 gallons.
Yeah.
So one of these will last several, depending on the size of your tank.
Good for about 75 gallons of fuel.
75 gallons of fuel.
So.
And in wrapping up, if you are like most of the guys that I know that are out here bass fishing, you're fishing year round, you can basically, as long as you're filling up your gas and keeping it running through your tank, you can basically take the fuel stabilizer and put this on the back shelf. This would be great if you really, you know, every couple of tankfuls or something, but in actuality, if you are running your boat every couple of weeks, save your money on these two things and go for the engine and fuel system cleaner every...
I run it every 3 to 4 tankfuls.
Okay, and that's basically keeping up your maintenance, maybe running that through. That's you know, giving yourself some protection so they don't have to come and see you to have, you know, a motor that's popping or not running or hard starting or smoking or whatever, correct?
Right.
Anything else you could add to that, you know, for longevity in a motor? I mean, I've asked you this before because in the bass fishing world, we're all running at 100 miles an hour. And you're saying, you know, these motors are meant to run at high RPM. It doesn't damage them. It's not like running a car at maximum RPM where, you know, you're going 120 miles an hour. And obviously you don't want to you know, work the motor to death, but you're saying run these motors, keep them running, you know, daily if you can. Do your maintenance, and that's, you know, that's basically the best, along with checking your annual maintenance as far as oil, lower unit, filters, things like that. Anything else you can add?
So, because there's different, you know, we're talking 2-stroke, 4-stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain things you want to do and maintain on a 2-stroke versus that you want to take care of on a 4-stroke.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you're dealing with a 4-stroke, if you're, you know, doing a lot of idle stuff,
Right.
You know, most manufacturers, you'll see in your maintenance manual, if you're doing anything more than, you know, 50% of the engine's life expectancy, that's an adverse condition. So if you have 100 hours on the engine and 75 hours of that were all trolling,
mm-hmm.
that's an adverse condition. Mm-hmm. So you should step up your service intervals.
Is it the same situation if you were running your boat at, say, 5,500 RPM? Let's say you've got a 200 horsepower. It's meant to run high. I think the high end of that is about 61, 62. But let's just say you're running around 58 all the time, running up on pad, moving around for over 70% of the time that you're...
Yeah, I would say
that's also adverse?
Well, not necessarily. That's in that red line where that engine's making all the horsepower it's going to make. That's where it's designed to run. Can you run it there all the time? Yeah. I would say I would run it for, you know, a pretty good period of time and then maybe back the throttle off just a little bit, mm-hmm. and then go back into it pretty hard.
But it wouldn't change the way that you would be doing the maintenance on, say, if you had a boat that you were trolling with and going, say, 5 miles an hour all the time.
Right.
It's better actually to open those boats up and run.
They're made to run. They're basically race engines on the back of most bass boats.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Okay. Well, I hope that answers a few questions for you guys, and you know, I know I'll be getting a ton of questions when I upload this video. Maybe we'll have to do something, you know, down the road a little bit. And I'm gonna, I think you saved me some money because I'm gonna put these guys on the back burner. I'm gonna use these guys, this guy here, the system fuel and system cleaner, and hopefully I won't be seeing you. Thanks for all the information, George. See you guys on the water.